Hi folks, now I'm going to show you how we can complete a DS-160 form and how we can use those details to make the payment and then book an appointment, and what are the things to keep in mind. And in this complete process, I'd be focusing more also on the fact that uh, you can do this application alone, and most probably in most of the cases it so happens that we tend to apply this with your spouse and your kids, which is also possible. So the most important thing to keep in mind is that you would need a DS-160 application for all the people who are supposed to go and attend the interview, right? So if you have your wife and your kid and yourself, you need 3 DS-160 form. And how to make the payment separately for them, or if you want to make the payment together, and how to book an appointment after that. So I'll be detailing you about all of these things in this particular video. And mostly this is see the reason why I've decided to come up with a video like this is because I have faced some issues applying for the I mean doing the application for DS-160, and then certain issues when I'm paying and certain issues when I'm booking the scheduling. So I've possibly I've tried my best to include all those scenarios into this as well, so that whoever is watching this can do this without having much of an issue, right? And it so happens that if there are certain issues that can even cause denial of visa, I mean the mistakes that you make and all those things. So you should be very careful when you are making those applications. First and foremost thing I would say, have all your documents in front of you, like your passport and the approval notice, a copy of it. I mean, in fact, a copy of all of these things, and your offer letter, and birth certificate, and copy of your parents' passport details, and your kids' passport details, your spouse details, and then spouse parents details, and kids parents, obviously it is you and the spouse. So all those details, make yourself handy with all those details, and then you start your application. Then it's going to take exactly the time it is supposed to take you, otherwise it's going to be a daunting task, right? So let me go ahead and start the application process. Mostly I'll be filling sample details, this for testing purpose that I'm doing it, right? So I've selected the location where you are applying for this visa. Just make sure from your employer, who was your petitioner basically, which place did they choose for you to make this application. And most of the time approval notice will have some details like this, where they have asked you to choose as the consulate. So I'm going to select Chennai for this, which is in India. Okay. I'll have to add the capture details so that I can go forward with start an application. I will show you how to start an application, save in between, and then retrieve it later, right? So I'm going to start an application, right? So this is your application ID. The first and foremost thing that we do is, whenever you find unique numbers like this, make a copy of it. I mean, copy and paste this thing somewhere. Even when you are making the payment, there is a payment confirmation number that you get, or application DS application confirmation number that you get, and all those kind of things. Make a note of it, because in most of the time when you come up with some issues, you'll have to make a call to the consulate or their customer support, and they'll be asking for details like this, which you'll have to provide. In certain cases, if we cannot provide with them, probably they cannot help you, because they don't have enough details to help you, right? You have different questions to select from, right? So okay, I'm going to select this question, and then I'm going to answer my name there so that I remember. So you generally answer the right answer so that this question will be used to retrieve your application when you save it and come back later. Also keep in mind that the other details which at the moment are being asked is first five letters of um, your last name, okay, your surname, and then year of your birth. So that's what usually they ask, right? So I'm gonna put surname as surname, okay, given name as this. Okay, you can use uh, Google writing for making things in your own language. Okay, so I use this. I'm from Kerala, so my native alphabet would be Malayalam. So I mean, I use this Google Malayalam writing for entering this details. So you can use. I think Google is available for most of the language. You can use that. And so these are questions. Need the one thing that you need to know is that most of the question has a no answer, but even then, be very careful what you're answering no to. And this question can be, if you wrongly answered one, can be used against you. And then here, have you ever used your other names? So if you have used one, you have to clearly read this and then say yes, I have, or no, I haven't. So you had a different name in the passport, then you change it, things like that. Or you're religiously, you might have a different name as religion, part of your religion, all that. So I'm going to select no. You have a telecode. Usually, I haven't seen many names with a telecode in our region at least. Usually that goes as an answer. No. Um, Sex based on the application that you make for you. If you are the main petitioner and you are male, you choose male, and then spouse would be female, and then your kid would be based on their sex. Marital status. I'm going to select married here because I'm focusing more on how to make application for a family of three or four, right? So I'm going to select some date, which possibly uh, could be the date, and this is your city of birth. It'd be there in your passport. Okay, at the moment I'm selecting my city of birth, and this is definitely not my password. I mean, sorry, my date of birth. I've just put some junk date of birth. Okay, and enter this one only if you have it in your uh, passport. Okay, gonna select India. Right, and you go to the next page. Full name and native alphabet. Okay, yeah, it'll tell you what is not completed, right? You'll have to write something. Okay, okay. You need to choose your current nationality. Okay, and do you have any held any other nationality other than the one you indicated above? My answer is no. You have to be careful there. And you're permanent resident of a country or region than your country or region that you have mentioned there. You'll have to check your passport, where whether to see whether you have a permanent residence anywhere, and if you have one, obviously you would know. And for most of us Indians, we don't have national identification number. Uh, uh, we have it in the US. They have a social security number. I think that's a national identification number. And then some Middle East region. I've been working in the Middle East. In UAE they have, in Saudi they have. They all have their national ID. So since we don't have it, I'm not gonna enter anything. So this is the SSN that I was talking about, and this is US taxpayer ID number, which you don't have. Okay. Address one, address two, city, Kerala, and then 67000, 6 digit. That's gonna be India. Is it the same mailing address and the home address? Most probably it's gonna be a yes. Based on your answer, you can put that. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 8, 9. Okay, put your real email address here. Okay, at the moment I'm gonna put my let me think, do you need this email ID in receiving? Okay, I wouldn't need for the complete training purpose, so I would put test at test.com just to make sure. Your passport type and your passport number. Make sure if you have multiple passports, old one and new ones, make sure you put the new one. This is exactly the passport number they will be verifying on your interview and on your finger scanning thing. So do not enter old passport number. We don't have the second passport book number, something that we don't have. Country, yes. Where is this? You can mention wherever this is mentioned. Issued from. Okay, in some of the cases you have to see it's in the passport. In some of the cases it might be issued in a different place. For example, my wife, she has it issued in a different country because she was a resident there, and for me always it's been issued in India. So it totally depends upon what you have, right? Okay. One thing that you need to be very careful with is the date format. In this one, it's perfectly fine. It's like what we um, Indians are used with. But in certain other forms or in certain other pages, I'll be clear when I'm explaining that to you. The format is jumbled up in terms of first it'll be month and then it'll be the day and then it'll be the year. So here it's fine. Okay. Exactly like your passport. Okay, usually it comes for 10 years. For kids, it's gonna be kids below 5 years. I think it's for 5 years. Um, so yeah, be careful. Basically, look at your document and then do that. Have you ever had your passport stolen or not? If yes, yes. There's another thing that you need to be very careful with. If you are the main petitioner, which most probably the file that you'll be filling once when you are starting the process of filling. So it's going to be anyone's going to be in temporary worker H1, but then this is what the one which differs. Are you if you are the main one, you would be the H1B, and but if you are the spouse or child, you might be selecting one of this child and spouse. Did you see there, right? And application petition number. This is something that you have in your approval notice as well. And this is the reference number that we take the case status. I mean, they check the case status every time when you go and see the US CIS website for checking your case status. The same thing. It usually starts with W, uh, basically three letters, and then this many numbers. I think one, two, three, four, five. Right. Okay. Have you made most made specific travel? If you haven't made, most of the cases it's gonna be no, because no one have a specific travel plan until they get their visa. So that, but you can give an intended date. Okay. Length of stay. Um, it totally depends upon you. Um, yeah, you can mention the address that you are staying in the US. Okay. Okay. Um, I think that's zip code in New York region. I'm not sure. Let's see. Um, uh, Again, this depends. I mean, you would be paying for this. Your petitioner would be paying for this. Based on your answer, you select this one. Yeah. Are the other person traveling with you? You say yes, and this is where it's gonna make a difference when you save and you start a new process for apply. I mean, completing the DS 160 for your dependent. Are you traveling as a part of a group or organization? Most probably not in the case that we are discussing. Okay. And you can mention the surnames of the people who are traveling here. Okay. Surname one, given name one, relationship. Can mention your spouse first, and then if there is another one, you add another one. Surname two, name three, sorry, two, and most probably it's gonna be your spouse. Okay. Numbers are not allowed. Have you ever been to the US? Answer truthfully again. Have you ever been issued a US visa? All of this question. Just if you are a fresh applicant, mostly this questions will answer no. Okay. If you never traveled to US or applied to US, the answer is going to be no. And be very careful. Again, when you are submitting the details for your spouse, especially in this age, you'd never know. Maybe when your spouse was a kid, he or she might have traveled to the US, which you're not aware of. So talk to each other and find out whether you have really traveled. Okay, so answering wrong again would be a bad choice to make. Again, your answer depends upon who's really a contact person here. It could be your employer, could be your petitioner. In some of the cases, it basically means the same thing. This is where you put your family information like your father's and mother's name and date of birth and all that. You can refer to their passport. Okay. Again, this answer truthfully. Just ask them that they've been to. Maybe you never know. Again, this question is about whether you have any family or do you have any other relatives. Answer truthfully. And this is where you enter your spouse details. Okay. There's another thing. Check out your spouse or the passport again. There's a possibility that, like I said, mine was different. It's not from here, so just check and make sure. You can go with the address in the passport of your spouse. For making it simple, I'll show you the screen, but making it simple, I'm going to select no job, no job. Okay. You have not employed here, right? This is your employment. This is not spouse. This is the primary petition's employment it's asking about. So we can say whatever it is. If you have been previously employed, which is mostly the case, so I would go with that case. Okay, say Oracle 23 city Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Right. Job title. You can say consultant ABC XYZ. That'll be a little bit unbelievable. So I'll make the change the date. So you want to add another employment? I mean, I think you can. You have an option to add for three. Yeah, three, and prayer that you can't, not more than three. And this is your educational details. Okay. Uh, which is IM was so easy, so I entered that. It's not that I have studied in IM. Okay. Right. I would say yes. Yeah, PGTPA. Okay. So you can mention your you part of a clan or tribe. No? You can mention the language. You can add another language. Say English. And in my case, I'm gonna say Malayalam also. And you can add more. Have you ever traveled to any other countries in the last 5 years? Um, Look into your passport. Mostly you will see. But again, if you have traveled to the Schengen region, mostly your entry and exit points are marked in the passport. So really think about this and answer. Okay. Basically, the key word here is that uh, do not lie and do not miss anything, because missing something is as good as lying when someone is really looking at this application. You can't really go back to them saying that, oh, I have missed it. uh, that's not an option. Okay, I'll try to show you how it's gonna look if we want to mention something. Okay, and you can add more like that. If you're a well-traveled person, you will have a big list there. Regardless of how much of traveled you are, or how many of a visa application that you have already made, TS 160 is the toughest application till date I've worked on. Okay, so it's a little tricky. If I have to borrow the US word already, it's a little tricky. Um, so got to be very careful. I've applied for a Schengen visa before. I have applied for a, UK visa before. Without the help of anyone, in none of those times I felt like, no, I have to make a video for this because it'll be helpful for people. I mean, it might be helpful for people, but it's more or less straightforward, and you do have plenty of options where you can go and get the application corrected. Here, your avenues for such kind of corrections are less, so your only option is to be careful when you fill. You have any disease? Are you mentally okay? I've been drug abused. All this are going to be background relation. Have you ever been arrested? Have a violate or engage in conspiracy? Are you coming to US for engaging in prostitution, money laundering, human trafficking? And this again, human trafficking. This is again one of your spouse, son, daughter. Are you a spouse, son, or daughter of an individual who are committed or conspired to commit a human trafficking offense? So they basically need all the details. Okay, one of those things I have not answered. No illegal activity. No, don't want to be a terrorist. No, you have no relation. Are you a member of representative terrorist organization? See, this answer is going to be no all the time. I mean, if you know what I mean. Because regardless, you'll have to answer these questions. Um, Answer truthfully. Have you ever been directly involved in cause save transplantation of human organs or bodily tissue? Sounds very weird, but yeah, you'll have to answer all those. No custody. Have you ever, if you're a fresh applicant, no. You have never voted. You have never been to the US, no. Have you ever renounced United States citizenship? No. Okay, your petition number already showing up here, the one which I filled in, of course. Um, okay, um, let's say Sanjay. Name of the employer I have mentioned as XYZ company. Look into the approval notice, you'll have the proper company name and mostly the address in there. If you don't find the address here, you can always look up their website and find their US address. Okay. Right. Their phone number. Usually it is 6 and 10 digit. Your monthly income. This is what the basically the hue and cry for the new H1B thing. Um, this is what the government wants to make $130,000 in a year. So, but you will have your salary mentioned in your offer letter. Just enter the exact amount here because there will be a verification, which is what I am guessing. Okay, so that's your. Uh, oh, oh, okay. Okay, so you basically see all this application, right? And you will now it's your turn to review the application. I'll go to the first page because I would need my passport number. Okay, because for signing this petition and submitting it, you would it would ask for your passport number and captcha details at the end. Okay. This is your application ID, and this is going to be the your confirmation ID also, and whatever that you see here in this one. So this is what one of those value that you enter into the application where you make the visa fees and scheduling the appointment. So this will be three different ones for if you are applying for three people like your spouse and main petition, main application, and the spouse and the kid. Okay, you'll have three different ones. Um, so that's what you need to make sure. Sign and submit. Okay. You have to open this link and basically have to read it. It's basically more details about human trafficking, how they try to uh, stop it globally. Then this is the captcha I'm talking about 2620. 3 4, right? You can sign in and submit the application. Just sign, and then I wouldn't want to sign it, but then to show you the next page, I'm going to sign it. And before that, let me show you how to retrieve this. I'll save and exit, and then I'll show you how to retrieve it later on. At any point on the application, you can do this. Okay, so I'm gonna save again. You can exit, right? Okay. So to go to the application again, you can click on this one, the same page where you begin with. Here you can choose your sorry, India, Chennai. This is the one I selected, and then you can enter. Will keep on changing. 8Ka, and then you can say retrieve an application. Okay. So here your application ID would be asked. Let me find out the application ID. Hold on, I'm gonna post the video. Unluckily, I don't have that ID. You enter the ID, and then you uh, enter the first 5 alphabets of your last name, your and then your year of birth, and then they'll ask you the question which you have answered first. Okay, your father's name is what I've chosen, and then given the answer. So that's what you use to retrieve the application. Then you come back and review it and save and submit. So this is a classic mistake that you can do too. I let you learn from my mistake. I do not have the application number with me. Okay, so I cannot retrieve it. So you should basically have it. In my following video, I will be showing how to fill the application for your appointment and visa payment. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Thank you for watching this video.